Hey everybody, David Thompson here, and welcome to our weekly episode of Humble Beginnings. And our guest with us here today is a good friend of mine, a business attorney, Walker Young. He's with the Scheef and Stone law firm. And Walker, thanks for being here today, man. We really appreciate it.
David, I appreciate being on here. Thanks a lot.
You're absolutely honored to have you. If the folks like what they hear and want to get to know you on a business level or a personal level, Walker, how should they go about getting hold of you?
Yeah, our website is solidcounsel.com, www.solidcounsel.com, SEL for counsel, or just find me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Sounds good. And we'll put some graphics up on here as well with that website so that they can reach out to you. So again, thanks for being here, man. We really appreciate it. And I know this is always the fun part. In 5 minutes or less, right? Tell me about your humble beginning, man. Tell us a little bit about your story, Walker.
Well, that's kind of a weird question for me because I feel like I was given the world at my fingers because I had tremendous parents who cared every bit about my upbringing and making sure that I had every tool I needed to enrich myself and live a fulfilling life.
Nice.
So it's I kind of feel like I had a silver spoon in my mouth for the most part. But
that's fair.
So it wasn't always easy. I had some ear infections when I was a child. A couple of severe ear infections that made it hard to hear for one thing, hard to understand directions, and also delayed my speech development quite a bit, to the point where I went to a speech pathologist for 5 to 10 years, I think.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of a big range there, but I was there for a long time, and she did a lot to improve my speech development. You know, my parents had a very proactive approach about that. You know, they thought, hey, the kid can't say the word helicopter or pronounces Y's or anything like that, so we probably should do something about that to get him some help.
Yeah.
And, they worked hard to achieve that and to provide that for me, and I'm extremely grateful for that. So I started out, not being able to communicate.
Yeah.
Handwriting was even worse. Reading comprehension was abysmal. I don't think people really expected much out of me at a young age, but my parents did. And that was really all that mattered. So from then on, they worked with me, got me the kind of tutors I needed to improve my skills and studies as well, and just stuck with me. And from then I was able to achieve some things I wanted to achieve, graduate with honors from college and from law school.
Nice.
And went on to, become an attorney, participate on the moot court team, and, now I argue for a living. So I've come a little way, I guess, in that respect. And, you can lead a horse to water, can't make it drink. I did my best to drink, but my parents were there in the early formative stages to make me go there. And I have to give the credit to them.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome, bro. That's awesome. Well, and just so you know, you're not the first guest to come here and say, I really don't feel like I have much of a humble beginning. And our last guest, as a matter of fact, said the same thing. And she was very clear, though. There has been times in life where I have been humbled, though, right? And it's really just about getting to know you and your story and kind of where you're at. So I know you and we've gotten to know each other pretty well over the last year or two, and I want to talk to you about role models. Who are your current role models in life right now? Who do you look up to, Walker?
Well, I don't want to make this about a family story, but my dad is my biggest role model in my life.
Nice.
His story has been, for me, it's taught me that you're never really down until it's over, and that no one can tell you what you can and cannot do. He wanted to provide a better life for his family, and he had a good paying job, but he wanted to get a better one. So he went back to college and went back to law school, got his law degree, and became one of the leading experts in his field.
Yeah.
And now he's a county judge.
That's
and he's
awesome.
helping with the vaccine rollout. He's helping lead that county into a more prosperous era. So what I take from that is that a lot of people told him that you can't do it, or do you know how long 3 years is for law school, much less, the 2.5 years you need to finish your college degree. And I think the lesson for that for me is to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And
right
to
on,
not listen to those who say you cannot do it. Find people in your life who tell you, here's why you can do it. Because a lot of people always say you cannot do this or you shouldn't be able to do this. So for that reason, that determination and also the willingness to give back to people in his community he's always been my role model, but that's another layer on top of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Somebody told me a long time ago, the people who aren't doing it shouldn't tell the ones who are that they can't do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those deals. So I know you talked a little bit about your struggle in childhood with the hearing. It's kind of funny. You said I couldn't hear her talk. I can't hear her talk, and I write even worse. Right? That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about your struggles, like your greatest struggle right now. What are you currently going through?
Well, thankfully, the hearing and speaking and writing has improved a lot. But
obviously.
I guess my greatest struggle right now is trying to find a balance in my work and my life, as I think we all struggle to do.
Yep.
And it's nothing like I'm feeling external pressure to be at the office more or anything like that. It's just, I'm ready to work, ready to go out there, and I feel the pressure that I put on myself to achieve. So it's, that tension between trying to achieve all that I know I can achieve in my professional life, but also being dedicated and being at home for my wife and our little dog and my personal life, Yeah. Because I want to excel in both areas. I want to be excellent in my professional life and also excellent at home. And that, finding the time to hit the brakes and slow down, that has been the struggle I found to be most pressing this year, especially with the pandemic and with the way that we're always locked into our computers. It's easy to get sucked into more projects, and you always hear that voice in the back of your head that says, no, you can do it. You can do one more project. You can keep on putting a little more stuff on the plate.
Yeah.
Finding that internal clock that tells me it's time to take a step back and focus on my family life has been a struggle that I'm working through and trying to become better at.
Yeah. I've got to tell them the story about the first time we ever met real quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope it's a good story.
So every day when Walker and I office out of the same building, he's on the fourth floor, I'm on the first floor. And I'm usually the first guy to the office every day and one of the last guys to leave. And every time I got there, there was this car that was parked about 2 cars over. I had no clue whose it was, but it was there every morning, 6, 7 o'clock. And it was there every evening sometimes I leave the office at 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock. And I always seen this car, and I always just assumed that car was abandoned. Well, lo and behold, after months of this going on, I'm walking out and Walker's there. We had never met. And he walked to that car and I walked to my car. You remember the first thing I said to you?
I think you said something like, hey, man, you're always here late. You seem like a hard worker. What's your name?
I said, and I thought I worked a lot. That was the first thing I said to him. I said, geez, I thought I worked a lot, dude. Your car's always here. And then I went up and introduced myself. So I say all that, Walker, to say when you talk about struggling with that life-work balance, I get it. And I can also say that I speak from experience and kind of knowing where your car is parked, when it's parked there, that's probably a true thing for you.
Yeah, I mean, and my wife is an extremely hard worker too. Megan started her own business this year, and she's extremely understanding and supportive of what we're doing. But it's something that we both have to work on to, we've been laboring hard. We got some fruits now, but we have to take the time to enjoy the fruits of our labor at some point, or else we're just going to be laboring all the time.
Right. Agreed. Yep. Awesome. Well, what was your biggest win last year?
Well, 2020 was a weird year, and it was met with some uncertainty as it began, with the pandemic, of course. I had some nice wins early on. We won summary judgments and got some big wins for our clients in a couple different cases that I got to handle pretty much solo, which I was thrilled at and thrilled at the results for that. So taking more responsibility in those cases was a early victory for me. One of my goals last year was to increase my client development, to get out there as much as I could, which was pretty difficult given the circumstances.
Agreed.
But I did my best, and I was able to, I would say, come close to doubling or tripling the amount of clients I have, and starting to really, feel like get my name out there a little bit and develop a bit of a brand.
Yeah.
So that was a big win. But I think one of the coolest wins I had was actually earlier this year in 2021, which I guess still counts for your question.
Sure, absolutely.
I got this call from a friend that we used to be in the same group with, Sandra, and she had a neighbor who was having an issue where she's about to be evicted from her home.
Oh, no.
And it was one of those things, you get some calls as an attorney where it's kind of like, hey, I got this friend, he's in some trouble, and, can you help him out? And I'm thinking there's absolutely no way I have time for this. I've got 8 other things to do.
Yes.
But my wife, Megan, was sitting there, because we're working from home now, and so she hears every conference call I have, and she says, give the lady a call. So I called her. And it was a very sad story about, she's a single mom with 3 kids trying to, she's got I'm not going to comment on ongoing legal matter, but a tough situation with her landlord.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, I'll help you out a little bit, that kind of thing. And wasn't expecting to do much with her. And then my wife told me that I think of your mother and think of your sister if they were single ladies with kids and, trying to get by. You should do a little bit to help this lady out. So I decided to take on the case, and to cut to the chase, we won at trial on her eviction case, and actually got attorney's fees for that as well. So what I thought would be a loser and kind of a waste of my time turned out to be a way for me to share what skills I have with someone else and to help them out a little bit. And I have to say, of like all the clients I've had, that experience, which I thought would be a pro bono experience, basically has been one of the most enriching that I've had in my short time practicing law.
That's awesome.
She has been the most appreciative client, has been the most responsive, the nicest. And it's been, one of those things where I feel like I should be paying her for all the good she's done for me. Yeah, just making you feel good about the skills you have and how you can share those with other people to help out a little bit. So for me, that's been one of my bigger wins recently. And it's kind of strange how those things come along.
It really is. I love it. Yeah, life's really about ups and downs, right? It sounds like this client that you had that helped out, she was certainly in a down time, and God willing, she gets back up. And what type of advice would you give to somebody who feels like they're just beaten down by life right now, can't win, can't catch a break? What would your single best piece of advice be for that person?
Yeah, it's tough because it's tough to walk a mile in someone else's moccasins.
Amen,
and
brother.
yes, it's easy to say, hey, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But if you're not wearing boots, that's kind of hard to do.
It is. Nice.
I would say that, as someone who hasn't, I would say I experienced a lot of tough times, but, having struggles like everybody else does, I would say that the best advice I can give is to never count yourself out. And that, you're not out of the fight until you take yourself out of the fight. And I'm a bit of a history buff, and the Romans had a saying about this, that the foe is not vanquished until he considers himself to be vanquished.
Yes.
And, as a person, as human beings, the wheel is always still in spin. We've got a shot to make it. We can always change the course that we are on to do something better for the people around us and for ourselves. And so though you think that you have nowhere to go, there's always something you can do to improve your life, and even like in a marginal way. Those things add up over time. And I don't know, I think that's something that you cannot really see sometimes when you're in the depths of a tough period. You can't understand that, like, oh, there is a brighter spot I can get to, but it just takes one step at a time. So for those people who would be in that kind of situation, I would just encourage them to keep on fighting.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's great advice, man. We're getting close to the top of the hour, but one more thing I want to ask you before we part ways. What would you say you learned the most from 2020? What was your biggest lesson in 2020?
Well, I think it's a year that we will be hard-pressed to forget.
Yes, I agree.
And, I had so many thoughts of what I thought the year would look like. I thought I was I'm really going to work hard to make this thing take off, and I'm going to get this experience. I can't wait to do my first jury trial in person. Well, that's not happening because it's all via Zoom. We're staring into cameras. I think that what it has taught me is that life doesn't really care what your plans are. You can say like, hey, I exist. And the world says sometimes, I don't really care.
Right.
We're going to do it my way. We're going to have to, you have to roll with the punches, I guess is the lesson. So if that means that we can still somehow find a way to grow our business from our pajamas and in the living room, then we have to find a way to do it. We have to find a way to adapt and to not only survive, but to thrive in whatever environment we're put into. And I think that we underestimate our ability to adapt.
Yes.
We think there's absolutely no way I could do that. I can't work from home and grow my business or practice law efficiently. And you're not forced to do that until you're actually in that situation. And then I think we can all surprise ourselves by our ability to roll with the punches. So I hope that there's not a more exciting time in my life that I'll live through. I'm looking forward to some smoother sailing and for more boring times in life. But I think this year has taught me that we can really roll through anything if we put our mind to it.
Love it. Adjust, adapt, and overcome, man. That
yes,
is
sir.
Great advice. Awesome. Well, we're going to wrap up, guys. Thank you so much for viewing. And Walker, thank you so much for being here. And as always, guys, have a super blessed week. Give us a thumbs up on this. Y'all stay blessed. We'll see you next week.